Official private servers are coming to old school RuneScape. That is absolutely huge news, but huge in a good way or in a bad way? That's what I want to have a discussion about today. Project Xanaris is, in my opinion, the most impactful announcement in the entire Summer Summit. Just a couple of hours ago, Jagex announced that they're working on hosting custom worlds, private worlds, modded worlds,
old school RuneScape community servers,
or whatever you want to call them. If you're confused or behind, let me explain the proposal of Project Xanaris. Jagex are essentially giving anybody the ability to rent a server from them and then modify that server as they wish. These servers will of course be separate to the main game, much like a permanent Deadman server or a League server. Beyond that, the details are a little hazy about what modifications you will be able to carry out, but I imagine things like XP modifiers, drop rate modifiers, and a bunch of other things you've never seen before. Now, it's pretty obvious that it's going to be difficult for me to control my bias on this subject. I make my living off new updates, off wacky side game modes that take place on different magical worlds like Deadman, like Leagues, and I've even asked for a server to be hosted for Deadman All-Stars with custom changes made. Not to mention, I've been in every sort of private world scenario, every single Battle Royale, Deadman All-Stars, the charity event for Hanani, you name it. I've been there. So that means I'm pretty well placed to shove propaganda down your throats about Project Xanaris, but I'm not going to do that because that wasn't my initial reaction to the project. I had some reservations, and I still have some reservations till this day. There are definitely pros and cons, and I want to go through them in this video. I also want to preface these opinions with the fact that I've never really played other games. I know out there are games that have like moddable versions and custom servers like Minecraft. You can just make a server, and to my knowledge, you can build lots of different random stuff and make the rules up yourself. And it does very well. I've also dabbled in some black market RuneScape private servers, but like over 10 years ago, so I'm slightly familiar with the black market ones, but not overly. But they do exist, and they do still have thousands of players logging on them till this day. But what about the official Jagex custom servers? Well, let's start positive with the pros. Now let me paint you the prettiest consumer experience of Project Xanaris. You log in to Solo Missionscape to an island that you've never seen before. In fact, it doesn't even exist in the main version of RuneScape. It doesn't exist in any other custom server. It is unique to the server. There are unique monsters, unique quests. In fact, the whole map is entirely different. New bossing, new items, new everything, but the same core RuneScape experience. Now, of course, that would be a tremendous amount of effort and work, but there might be a tremendous amount of people willing to develop content on these custom servers. The Jagex dev team, they're sticking on the main game. They're not putting any work into these custom servers. They're still developing content over there. Given the right tools in these custom servers, the end game for me looks like RuneScape updates not even made by Jagex anymore. Maybe that's a pipe dream, but I see that as the vision for this down the line, possibly in a few years. And I do think Jagex share that vision. When asked if players can create their own quests, bosses, and items, they say that their goal is to eventually enable you to develop your own creations and share those with the wider community, and it's some way off, but they're exploring all avenues of customization. For me, this is the best case scenario by far, and it could be incredibly cool to essentially play a new update with every custom server you log into. And that leads me to the second positive, which is Jagex can see good content in a custom server and be inspired to make something similar in their main game or port it over. This is kind of how the game operates already. It's community-led. A lot of the suggestions made by the community do make it into the game, but this would just really accelerate that progress and bring people's ideas to life, and also be tested on real players inside an actual server. And to round out the positive case for Project Xanaris, you've got to think about who these servers are for. They're actually for people like me, and I'm not talking about the content creator version of me. I'm talking about the version of me that, say, is making PowerPoints in a London skyscraper 60 hours a week and doesn't have time to grind the main game because it can be quite slow. I'd probably hop on for Leagues, I'd probably hop on for Deadman, and that sort of person that doesn't have too much time is the perfect candidate to play a private server. And those people are where I see the current player base in 5 years, in their 30s, with careers and kids and wives and commitments and responsibilities. Yeah, I know a lot of you probably have that already and you do play RuneScape, but there's gotta be many lapsed players that just see this game as such a time sink, and the fast-paced game modes, they come back for that. I've got a lot of friends that only play Dead Man Leagues and then they just don't log in ever outside of that. Lastly, it's probably a positive for content creators on the whole. I think it actually will depend what type of content you make as to whether this will be good for you. I think it will harm some content creators and be good for others, but talking about YouTube is not the point of this video. It's about the player experience. So there is a lot of upside potential with Project Xanaris, and that's why it's the most impactful Summer Summit announcement. It has the potential to be a real needle shifter. A new quest doesn't shift the needle. A new boss doesn't shift the needle. You know what does? A new skill, bringing the game to mobile, private servers, things like that are huge for the game, and they can be a bit of a risk. So what are the downsides? Let's get stuck in with some good old pessimism, because that's always more fun and interesting. I think the biggest concern that I hear from players about stuff like this is that it will divide the player base further. It splinters the direction of the game. Old school RuneScape is an MMO. It's a multiplayer game. It relies on community cohesion. It's very community driven, this game. When you have people pulling in a lot of different directions, you've got Iron Men, you've got mains, you've got people on these random servers doing different things. They all want different things. Does spreading the player base too thinly across different things reduce the overall charm of an MMO game? It's certainly a negative for people that really like the multiplayer aspect of RuneScape, the economy, the interactions, and all that stuff. It's obvious if Project Xanaris takes players from the main game and scatters them across a bunch of servers never to be seen again, then the main game does feel a bit more dead and less healthy from that multiplayer perspective. The second point can be seen with leagues, with Deadman, and that's just general burnout. Once you've been spoon-fed with all the perks of a private custom world, XP rates, drop rates, you get that burnout. Even anecdotally, I know this exists. I don't know if it's reflected in the figures of people playing RuneScape. People like to talk about this effect a lot. When you come down off that league's high and you've got to go back to the main game and it's sluggish and slow, you might end up taking a long break which turns into forever from RuneScape. The theory is that people get to experience all there is to experience in RuneScape. They've done all the raids, they've done the Infernal Cape. Yes, they did it on boosted rates with relics and whatever, but now they've got their fill, they're satisfied. They don't need to grind 2,000 hours to do the same thing in the main game. But then again, on the flip side, there are a lot of people that care about the main game. RuneScape is a lifestyle for a lot of the players. Everyone cares about their progress on the main game. It's like, there's always this little point in leagues or Deadman where it's like, oh yeah, but no one cares about that anymore. It's not real RuneScape. It's not the real thing. When they made that group Iron Man server with boosted rates, no one cared to watch it because it's not real RuneScape. People are very attached to the main game. It can be a bit hard to see longevity on a custom server, but maybe custom servers don't need longevity. That's another discussion. It all depends on what success looks like for Project Xanaris. If it's getting a sizable portion of the player base to play on Project Xanaris servers, let's say 20%, then you do need some longevity on those servers, because you can't do that just through temporary events. Especially when those temporary events aren't officially Jagex backed and are all competing against each other and no longer particularly special because there are always tons of them going on. Another threat to the longevity of a custom server, which I think is important if you're trying to get as many people involved in Project Xanaris as you can, is that you're now not trusting Jagex, you're trusting the server owners. Now, it depends what the server owners can do on their server, but what's to say the server owners aren't spawning in gold, or they're rigging competitions if there's competition servers? I mean, JMods have done it in the past, and they've had their entire livelihoods and careers and reputations on the line. It's literally happened 3 times that we know of with the actual company for the main game, Jed, Trident, and flipping Reach. Like, a random person can just give up on the server. They can just close it down whenever they want. Your 1,000 hours, up in smoke, mate. No longevity. They can rug pull the server. They can start printing GP. They can do all sorts of weird stuff that you'll never really know. And then is your progress devalued? Are you risking putting your heart and soul into something that you could easily get cheated out of? It is a bit easier to trust actual Jagex with your time than random server owners. Maybe I'm being a little bit too skeptical there of people in general. I think it all depends on sort of what info you get, what you can do. Can you see like mod logs? Can I ban somebody from my server? Am I responsible for moderating it? Can you post like the audit log or something publicly? So it's like, oh, nothing dodgy is going on here. So then people do actually trust your server. I don't know. It depends how they do it. I obviously have the pipe dream of you log in and it's a completely different version of RuneScape. But the thing is, how much of Jagex's code do they want to give away? Are they going to let you just code in rune scripts? Like, probably not, right? I don't know. Will they make some sort of map editor to just like map down tiles and then you can choose NPCs from existing ones? Would it even be possible to add in like custom art into the game? A lot of what makes a new update is new artworks, or are you just reskinning stuff like you do in Creator Kit, or they used to do really back in the day in like 2013, 2014. They just recolored something and then, oh, it's a brand new item. So yeah, all that stuff remains to be seen. What other considerations are there for custom servers? Do they get updated at the same time that the main game gets updated? If the Colosseum drops in the main game, does it also drop in the server as well? Probably not. You probably have to download it a few months afterwards, I would imagine. Let's have a look at some of the FAQs to get an idea of this. What does it mean for leagues and deadman? They say, in short, nothing. You can essentially create your leagues or deadman on these servers, which would water down the demand for such modes, and it would end up having an effect, right? I think leagues and deadman days would be numbered, unless people really care about the official version. But it's going to have some sort of impact. It's not going to have no impact, right? If Xanaris servers are done right, then it will definitely lessen the demand for leagues and deadman. This is an interesting pairing. Will these servers be subject to the same rules of RuneScape as the present main game? So no real world trading, no bug abuse, botting, all that sort of thing. Xanariscape isn't going to be the Wild West that I thought it might have been. But then they go back to say, will Xanaris be taking any resources away from the main game? And who's going to be policing the rules, like anti-cheat and stuff? So unless they're employing more anti-cheat people, then yeah, I mean, the resources will be more spread. But they could be employing more anti-cheat people. I don't know. I don't know if I see the rules actually being enforced that much on these servers. I think it's going to be a you play at your own risk type of deal. The Jagex moderation has to be focused on the main game, surely. And now we're on to the money. How much will it cost to host a community server? They don't actually say. There's no breakdown. But different server sizes will have varying price points, which is interesting. They don't say anything about it being costing more to play a community server. They don't rule it out though. So yeah, varying price points. I have no idea. I'm not technical. I don't know how much it should cost to host a 2,000 person server. Like, is that $5 a month? But then why would anyone do that? Because you're just paying for everyone else to have a good time. And then it's like, well, do I try and seek some compensation for hosting a massive server? Do you start charging people to play your server? Is that possible? And then all of a sudden you've got some sort of revenue sharing with Jagex. Because Jagex need to make money from this as well. They're employing a bunch more people. They obviously think this is a money maker, because otherwise they won't be doing it. They are a business at the end of the day. And if you're a server owner and you want to make something big with thousands of people playing your server, that probably requires a lot of resources and costs, and even you could be employing staff. Maybe you're contacting JMods trying to poach them and offering them the RSUs and stuff in your company, and oh god, it could get crazy. Maybe because it's not really the main game, you can have MTX. Like if you play the solo mission league, if you want 43 prayer straight away, hey, that's another $5, bro. Maybe they start opening that can of worms, and then you've all got loads of money sloshing around. And say you made a really good boss in your league, and then Jagex just yoinks it and takes it to the main game. And it's like, what? You just yoinked my money maker. I'm making tons and paying all my staff because we've got this amazing boss, and that's why everyone plays this server. And then they just take it because Jagex owns all the content. You don't actually own anything you're making. It's all just Jagex, right? This is all complete fantasy land, but it could happen. What if your version of RuneScape becomes more popular than the main game? Say if you just do old school RuneScape, but it's good type vibes. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. I mean, imagine you're a JMod in 2012 sitting on this product called RuneScape, and then 2 or 3 guys in the office of 100 people set up a separate game called Old School RuneScape. 10 years later, Old school RuneScape's 10 times bigger than that original game, so another version of the game can cannibalize the main game. It's happened before. I know this is a purely hypothetical super thought experiment right now, but in that instance, the server owner wouldn't be working for Jagex. Does that then mean that this random server owner is shaping the direction of Jagex's main product and IP and all this sort of stuff? What if they go rogue, kamikaze, make bad decisions? Then surely Jagex step in and take control, and it's like, the lawyers come in. I don't know. This is just a fantasy. But if you are still here after all that waffling, maybe that just opens your mind to the fact that this could be a crazy, huge change to the game. For the good or for the bad. But if it's bad, I don't think it really will have that much of a negative effect. But hey, that's the propaganda side of me speaking. Obviously, for me personally, this is incredible. At the very least, I'll get to enjoy all the other servers that people make. At the very most, I'll make my own server and we'll be on the road to world domination. The rest of the summit was amazing, and I think I'll make another video tomorrow because it's just nice to chat about stuff. And there is a lot of good stuff to get through. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We're on the second channel if you haven't noticed. That's why it's low effort and rubbish. But subscribe. I really want to get 100k on here as well. Then I can have 2 plaques on my wall. Thank you very much.